I do not know when this will finally be uploaded to YouTube, but we've got to talk about Jerome Powell and the Fed pivot. Is it complete? Has he given up on inflation and now is focused on the job market? Talk about new home sales. Also talk about what's ahead given the Fed's focus. Well, folks, we've talked about it for a week now. Jerome Powell, Jackson Hole. It was only 2 years ago at Jackson Hole where Jerome Powell basically said, we're taking the gloves off and we're going after inflation. After that, as you may recall, a series of 75 basis point moves ensued, and we raised interest rates at the highest rate possible. It's only been 2 years. Obviously, if you're in the real estate industry, you have been at depression levels with transactions down below 4 million. If you're in the mortgage business, it has probably been even more painful. We have seen the new home market show surprising strength, but yes, existing home sales are down. So what did Jerome Powell do today? I think he's basically said, without saying it, a September rate cut is coming. I also believe he's talking about doing a quarter point. I do not think Powell wants to go into this cutting cycle with the same kind of energy and vigor he did 2 years ago on the way up. Here are some of the things that he said that I thought were interesting. First, the time has come for policy to adjust. How about this? The timing and pace of rate cuts will depend on incoming data, that evolving outlook, and balance of risk. What it really seems to me, having gone through the speech, is he is now more focused on the job market. Obviously, in the last, 3 weeks, we've seen unemployment spike to 4.3 from 4.1. We've seen about 1 million jobs disappear that were fake, that never existed. Now, Powell does talk about the job market, or what he would call the labor market, and basically says that much of the unemployment increase is caused by more folks entering the workforce and a slower pace of hiring. This, again, is really a shout out to Claudia Salm of the Salm Rule, basically explaining that we've had a supply shock in labor, not a demand shock. Now, again, in previous cycles when the Salm Rule has been correct, again, it was all demand disappeared. Claudia Salm, now Jerome Powell, seemingly saying, hey guys, the job market is different. We are seeing more supply, thus distorting the interest rate or the unemployment rate. We are already having economists coming out. One that I noted was Joseph Lavarnia. He actually says, I do not think the bar for 50, again, 50 basis points, is particularly high. I would like to disagree with that. I actually think the bar for 50 is pretty high. I think Jerome Powell would like to go into this cutting cycle with quarters, not halves. But again, as Jerome Powell alluded to earlier, where it's going to be data dependent. So what does that mean for you and I? Well, first and foremost, we get PCE next week, I believe. Then after that, we will get the jobs number. The jobs number is actually pretty important, right? How many jobs were created in August? Why is it important? I believe there's a chance that the unemployment rate falls. It goes from 4.3 to 4.2. Now, how can that happen? If it does, it will be because of some distortion in the labor market last month due to a hurricane that impacted Texas for roughly 2 weeks. Again, it may not happen. The job market may be deteriorating faster than I see, but I think there's a decent chance that the unemployment rate goes to 4.2 versus 4.3. If this plays out and it continues to rocket higher, say 4.4 or 4.5, you quite simply have to put 50 on the table. So I want to be clear. If it goes from 4.3 and stays there 4.3 or goes 4.3 to 4.2, we have a quarter. If it continues to rocket higher and it goes 4.3 to 4.4 or even 4.5, you could book a 50 basis point cut. What did we see in the market today once Jerome Powell telegraphed a rate cut was coming? Well, as expected, we have a risk on. This is really interesting because in past cycles, obviously, when the Fed went on rate cutting cycles, it was really a signal to get out of Dodge. If you go back and look at the charts in the dot-com crisis or the Great Recession, once the cuts came, The stock market suffered somewhere between a 9 and 18 month fall, drop, crash, whatever you want to call it. It took a long time to get to the bottom. So it does feel like rate cuts are coming. It does feel like September. I will stay true to my word. There is, I think, a less than zero chance that he punts to November. But again, if he punts to November, we will get 50. We're going to have to look at the data, PCE and the job market. Then, of course, we will get CPI and PPI right before the Fed decision. Obviously, more on that to come. Don't know if this hit your radar, but it looks like DOJ, Department of Justice, is suing RealPage. RealPage apparently is allegedly helping landlords collude to keep rents high. Never used RealPage, don't know much about it. I'm going to guess it's a platform that commercial landlords use that are doing apartments and the like. But yes, colluding to keep rents high, that's a big no-no, and they should be getting sued for that. Be interesting to read more on that later. Don't know if you saw new home sales. New home sales increased 10.6%. Yes, 10.6% to a whopping 739,000. Expectations, folks, were 624. Last month was 668. So new home sales are rocketing higher, where existing home sales are down in the doldrums. Remember, existing home sales came in at 3.93, I think. So still sub 4 million. We did see a spike in new home sales. Again, 739 on an expectation of 624. Median home new home price $429K. So again, I think that's up like $6,000 month on month, something like that. So what else are people saying? We did get Fed President Hawker saying that it's a toss-up between 25 and 50. Again, not talking about 0, 25 and 50. The market is pricing in a 100% chance of a rate cut and a 25% chance of 50. We did get earnings from a couple of folks. Advanced Auto Parts, big miss, horrible forecast. Looking at Advanced Auto Parts kind of reminds me of Home Depot and Lowe's. Are we basically just seeing the ramifications of demand that was pulled forward? Again, remember, we had 2 years of demand from home remodeling, car repairs. And are we now just paying the price for that demand being pulled forward? I don't know. How about BCA research says that the U.S. economy is on the cusp of a recession. Things are breaking down quite rapidly. And then goes on to say a few rate cuts won't save the U.S. Remember that an average recession is 10 months in the making. So lots of stuff going on in the economy. There's more concern about the job market than inflation. We will get a PCE reading next week, followed by a jobs number. I do want to talk about our Vegas event and school for a moment. Our Vegas event, things that I hope you will see when you come to that event. I want you to meet your tribe. If you watch my channel religiously, hopefully you've seen by now, we talk the same language. We're consistent. We're not a get-rich-quick. We're about doing the work. I want you to meet other people like that. I want you to realize that everybody in that room is doing the work. They're at different levels, maybe. Maybe they've been doing it for 6 months or 6 years. But again, everybody is doing the work. Everybody will be speaking the same language. The energy in the room will be extremely positive, as everyone in the room is a go-giver. I want you to also meet and interact with the millionaires that come back on this channel. They will once again be invited to come out to the event. And then most importantly, come to the event with questions. Unlike most events where you just get death by PowerPoint, you're going to get the opportunity to ask your questions. Ask your questions multiple times, both with the people on stage and then once again when they're in the audience. As people come to my events, they don't leave, they stay. And then, of course, we got to talk about the awesome school community that is growing. This is the platform. If you're a new real estate investor, you have to join our school community. It's $20 a month. We're not hiding that fact. It gives you access to millionaire conversations live, so you can ask questions. It gives you a long playlist. It gives you a 10-week boot camp, 6-hour masterclass on creative financing, that and more. You get 2 accountability groups, which are proving extremely valuable. You will get live weekly calls and more stuff. So, folks, we're doing the best we can here. This is being recorded on an at-sea day, which means I will have to load this over the Wi-Fi, which I have no idea how long that will take. So hopefully you enjoy it. I'll give you a little bit of the view behind me. That's Iceland back there, I believe. I guess technically it could be Greenland. I guess I have no idea where I am. Have a great day.